All right, welcome back to Adobe Photoshop CC. This is the final tutorial for the poster project. We're going to go over adjustments, basically the levels adjustment in this tutorial. So after you add your color layer, you can choose to adjust it. I actually dropped the opacity a little bit. I felt like it was a little strong, so I can drop it down a little bit. And the next thing you want to do is maybe you want to add contrast to a particular image. So like this one here in particular, which is this one. You can turn off the eyeball to kind of see which image it is. By the way, if you right click in here, you can see if you go over to the right a little bit, or actually I think it's right here. Yeah, right click on the actual thumbnail. You can choose what size it is. So this might be set to small or medium. I like to choose a large thumbnail. So if you right click on the actual thumbnail itself, choose large, and it's a little easier to see. So it's this image here that I like. There is basically, it's a little bit too bright for the text, so I want to adjust a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the adjustments palette, which is right next to the properties palette here. And then at the top level, we have mainly the exposure and contrast adjustments. So there's the brightness, contrast levels, curves, exposure, and vibrance. If you ever over it, it kind of tell you what it is. And the one I like to use a lot is a levels adjustment. So that's the one we're going to use today. So again, it's the second one over. All you gotta do is click on it and you have the adjustment here in the properties palette, and you can see it here. It comes with a mask, which really isn't necessary for right now, but we'll get in that later on what the mask can enable you to do. But right now, if you look at it, it's got a value of 0 to 255, and this is what I meant before with the RGB mode. 0, 0, 0 is black, and 255, 255, 255 is pure white. And then we have a value of 1, which is sort of the dead center, which represents the gray values. So if you drag these little arrows over, if I drag this over, you notice the image is getting darker and darker and darker. If I drag the white needle, the far right one, over to the left, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And then the middle one, again, it affects the gray values in between. So I'm going to leave that at 1. If I scroll down a little bit, there is another slider down here. What this does, the black needle here, reduces the entire black in the image. And then this one over here on the right will reduce the entire white. And there are some reasons why you may want to do that. For right now, I just want to kind of point out what those do. We're going to focus on these top 3 bars here. So you'll also notice right now, if I drag this over, it's affecting more than just that one layer. It's affecting all these layers underneath. Because if we look in the stacking order here, I have all these layers underneath that layer. So how do we affect just that one layer? Well, there's a trick. It's called a clipping mask, and you can do it by either clicking on this little icon here, which is in this palette here. And what this is, you see it's got a little curved arrow. Once I do that, you'll see there's an arrow that pops here. And now this darkness is only affecting this one layer, which is pretty cool. Now there's a wonderful hotkey that you're going to want to know how to use. It's the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac. And what you need to do is go right between the 2 layers, and you'll see that same little kind of icon. And you can click to release it, or you can hold the Alt or Option, and you have to be right in between there and click again, and that will also release it. Now you want to be careful not to drag with the mouse with the Alt key, because if I drag with the mouse on the layer and hold Alt like that, what it does is it duplicates the levels adjustment. So I'm going to undo that just by hitting Control Z or Command Z on the Mac to undo. You can actually duplicate any kind of layer, so like this layer here. If I did hold the Alt, I would basically get a copy of that, and I'll move it around. You can kind of see there's an extra copy there, which I'll delete. So just something to be realized, you just want to make sure right in between there, you'll see that symbol, and then just click with the left click of the mouse. And that will make sure that it's clipped inside the layer. And you can see that the arrow is going down into that image. So basically what I would do is just make this a little bit darker, brighten up just a smidge, but a little bit darker so that this text here is a little bit easier to read along here. So that's all I gotta do here. Now, maybe I wanna add, for this image here, if I turn off the eyeball, you can kind of see, this image, I think it could be adjusted too. So I'm gonna add another adjustment to that. I'm gonna click on Adjustments, click on the Levels adjustment, and again, I'm gonna clip it. I can click on this little icon, or again, hold the Alt or Option between the 2 layers and click. So now it's just affecting this layer here. And I'm going to increase the contrast just a little bit and make it a little bit darker, but I'm actually going to brighten it up a little bit. I feel like it was a little bit too dark. You can turn off the eyeball to see the adjustment on there. And what's great about this is a what they call a parametric adjustment. You can always go back and adjust it. So if I click on the layer here, and I'm like, you know what, I want to adjust that levels again. All I gotta do is click on it, and then the properties tab, you have access to that, and you can mess around with it and adjust it further. So if you notice this figure here, I have a level adjustment on this one. You can see what a difference that makes on that image. It's a big difference. So, and if I want to access that again, I can just click on it and then further refine it. So that's basically adjustments in a nutshell, working with the levels adjustment at least. And in future tutorials and future projects, we'll probably cover a few more adjustments. I use the levels a lot. It's sort of my go-to adjustment to manipulate the image in graphic design and in design in particular. So that's the final thing. You want to make sure you get enough contrast to make things work together. Now you can do an overall adjustment. Sometimes I'll do this. I will click on the layer above everything, add an adjustment, add a levels, and I want this to affect everything below. Maybe I just want a little bit more contrast or a little more brightness for the entire image, and that's fine too. But just understand how you affect one image in the stack by holding Alt or Option by unclipping or reclipping that layer and that adjustment. Until next time, see you soon in Adobe Photoshop CC. Cheers.